And welcome to episode 558 of the GodIsAGeek.com podcast. My name's Adam Cook, I'm your host, and I'm joined this episode by the one, the only Dragon Age expert. It's Chris Hyde. Hello, Chris.
That's worrying. Hello. You're right? Yeah.
I am, I'm good.
I am happy, actually. It's Dragon Age time. I'm happy. I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I am happy to talk about it.
Would you not say you're an expert, really?
I'm married to my wife, who knows
That's good to know.
so much more. Well, yeah, obviously that's a sentence that obviously always works, but she knows so much more of like the lore and stuff than I do. And she'll say stuff and she'll go, yeah, that was in this and that happened there. And I was like, okay. So I know a lot, but she puts me to shame. So my context for expert on Dragon Age is maybe warped compared to some people. But
out of interest, and I have to ask this and put you on the spot, while you're podcasting, is she playing it?
No, but then this is going to sound awful. She's in the kitchen making dinner. But like peeping behind the curtain, I'm not allowed to watch the football tonight because then I'd be using the telly, and she wouldn't be able to play for an entire day, and that is not allowed. And so therefore, I cannot watch my football team on the telly because she's playing Dragon Age.
I'm kind of on her side, I think, on that.
No, and to be fair, I said it, and then I was like, "That's fine." Like, I wasn't going to push it. Like, I mean, we should get into. I mean,
let's talk about Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Yeah,
we're literally in a household where we have 2 copies of the game, playing it on 2 separate consoles in 2 separate rooms, and then we talk about the game to each other every day, being as cagey as we can until we realize where each other's is, and then talk about what we can and what we can't talk about. So it's very much an event for the last week in our house, kind of plowing through this game. I've been waiting for it for ages. My wife has
10 years.
10 years, yeah. I mean, it's been 10 years coming, and my wife is one of those people that, like I think I've said before, like she plays a few games. She's very much like a Dragon Age and Mass Effect, obviously BioWare, like she loves, and then like the Skyrims and stuff. But there's a few games that she plays and adores and invests herself fully. So she's been like a pig in shit in this one. It honestly just couldn't wait for it. But enough about my background life with this game over the last 7 days. We should probably talk about it. And I didn't know if you wanted to start because you're in a slightly more privileged position than me in the fact that you have actually finished it and I haven't. So I didn't know if you wanted to lead and I'll follow.
I mean, the thing is, right, is I am not like I've played a bit of all of them, if that makes sense.
Right, okay.
Like, I don't think, and my memory is fading as I seem to get older and on a daily basis. I don't think I've finished one. I may have finished Dragon Age 2.
Right.
Maybe.
See, I have only played Inquisition.
Okay.
And I finished that twice. Platinum, obviously.
Of course.
Like the Zoe's first game was Inquisition, and she's then gone and played Origins and 2 completely and everything and all that sort of stuff. So this is what I mean about lore, but I have only played Inquisition. That's my background of it.
So I would have to say, right, and this is just parroting something someone said to me today, and they listened to the podcast, so they'll know I'm doing it. But he made a good point. You know how I know you didn't play them as much, but so the Mass Effect games, BioWare, Mass Effect 1 started out right, and it had this tremendous story, but the gameplay was like it was fine. It was good, but some will argue against that the gameplay like modernized and got progressively better as the series got better. And I do feel there's a parallel with the Veilguard for that, because like it may be a completely false memory, but like playing a mage in Inquisition, I'm sure you could just hold down a button and you would just like keep spamming your basic magic attack. Unless I'm wrong. So if I'm wrong, this point's moot. In Veilguard, there's like it's combos, there's parries. None of it's essential. You don't have to parry. No. But like as a mage in the Veilguard, I felt more involved than I had.
So I think we should talk about that, because I think that there's a very distinct design choice that is different in Veilguard to the others, and that in Inquisition, which is my reference point, but I think it's true for the other games in the Dragon Age series at least, in that in the other games in the series, you have a party with their own health bars, and those people
very
can
good
die,
point. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so a lot of it is about party composition and keeping people alive and all working together as one sort of unit.
Yeah,
right?
I forgot that.
And whereas this game, you have 2 companions versus you had 3 companions in Inquisition. You only have 2, That's more true. Like the Mass Effect games.
Yep.
They cannot die. Right.
I was going to ask that. I was going to say I don't think they can go down in any way.
No, they can't. No.
But I don't know if I just didn't experience that.
So they haven't in mind. And
I mean, there's no health bar for them.
There's no health bar.
It would be weird
so
if they went down.
I'd be like, if they suddenly went down, you'd be like, well, how?
You'd be confused.
Whereas in Inquisition, everyone had their own health bars and everything else, and you would focus on it and heal them, and they'd heal you and stuff.
Yes.
So what it actually means is they do have their own moves like they did in Inquisition, and you can you've got skill trees and everything else. But what
you can pause time to activate them as well. You can sort of do it in real time, but you can also bring up a menu.
In Mass Effect, whatever it's called.
Yeah, no, it's very Mass Effect, actually, now you say that.
And so what it actually means, really, is the companions that you choose to take with you basically give you extra moves for you to use in a particular while you're fighting, because they're kind of like extensions of you, because they're not actually characters for to it's you're kind of saying, now do that, which is essentially saying, I'm going to do another move in my kind of skill set, but you're asking a character to do it, right? So it's more about when you bring along characters, I guess it's more about choosing them for the moves that they're bringing, so you can do more things, rather than a party that will survive together. And it's definitely a significant design choice. And I think when I know BioWare have said, historically you're like, right, one warrior, one rogue, one mage, and probably another, whereas they're saying this time you could go 3 mages and you'll be fine. Well, of course you can, because 2 of them can't die. So it's essentially what you are, and then more moves.
And that's quite interesting early on, because as someone who picked mage, early on in that game, I'm like, is there anyone who isn't ranged in this game?
You recruit mages, don't you? Yeah.
It's just ranged attacks. Like, at some point, it's like, did you want me to be? But I also think there's an element to that is it actually helps as you get later in the game, that I found early in the game, because, like, for example, there are multiple characters. We're not going to spoil anything, by the way, just in case anyone's listening concerned. We're not going to be spoiling. But because there are multiple characters that you can recruit who have skills, they each have 3 equipable skills at any given time.
Yeah.
But some of them duplicate in terms of, like, there are multiple characters who can use a heal on you.
Yeah.
And there are... I mean, that's just one example, and that's the only example I need to give, really. And at first, I think that feels a bit like, okay, I would have liked these to be a little bit more individual, but that does evolve.
But to counter that, I guess each character has 4, 5, maybe even 6 moves to use, and you can choose the 3 that they take into battle.
That's what I was going to say. To balance that, you don't have to have them healed. I mean, I like to have basically one person who can heal, and I would use someone who could have, like, there's a time slow move that a few of them again share, and I like to have one of them with that ability, because I find that useful, and you can just wail on enemies. We could spend a long time talking about the combat. I don't really have any problem with it. Like, I don't think it's like the pinnacle or most intricate system ever designed for a game ever, but I have... No. I found it very Moorish. Like, I would... Yeah, one thing that happens is, as you return through areas, there are sort of spawn locations for certain enemies that are always there. Like, every time you load into the game, and every time you load that area, you will walk through that area, and they will be there. Some variation of enemy spawns will be there. And I don't recall, in my 60 hours of completing it, a time where I was like... Because it's not that easy to actually just go, no bollocks to this, I'm just going to run through them, because your companions will get sort of involved, and eventually because I did it once, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to kill them, because it's actually easier just to kill them, get a bit of XP. But I never found the combat to be dull in that way. And the other thing I like about it is, as a mage, you can, well, as any character you choose, you can sort of specialize in one of 3 areas on the skill tree eventually, which will give you, like, certain, like there's for a mage, there's one where you can spec towards, I forget the name of it, but it basically kind of makes you like a lightning version of an Antivan Crow, so sort of combining the sort of assassin-y quick stuff with lightning. So that's where I went first. And as I progressed, I suddenly started coming up against a load of lightning enemies. I'm like, this isn't going to work. You can just respec at any point for free. And I went more towards the necrosis. And it's like, I don't think that... I think that's great, because it meant I play... And I think I tried all of the systems, because there's no reason not to.
It allows you... Yeah, this is the thing, because the skill tree for that is massive, right?
Yeah, and a lot of them, you read them and you're like,
Yeah, but I love games that don't limit your respecking, because it encourages trial.
Don't make me replay a 60-hour game to try a different power, please. Is
exactly.
What I'm saying.
I like games that do that, rather than like, oh, it's only if you've got, you know, one of this very
an item,
thing.
yeah.
But no, like no. So I really like that. And yeah, you can try something and then go back to your original thing if it's not working for you, and you might find like I'm a rogue, right? So it's literally a combination of long range and melee, which I know the mage does have as well, because
you got a knife, like a knife thing, which is really cool as well.
But like originally at the start of the game, I was like bow, not like selector, but you know, like,
damn it, you beat me to it.
And now I do a lot more stabby, knifey.
Yep.
And so originally, like, my tree was like, oh, I'm going to go down this way, but then I go this way, and like, I think if I was struggling, or if I was because I'm on the normal difficulty, if I think I was retrying on a higher difficulty, you might have to min-max your way through some of the things and try and really do a build. But I think it also is of a difficulty where you don't have to overly panic about like, oh, what happens if I just put this, you know, thing here, or is this a good build in combination? You can just try a few things and not overly stress about it. So yeah, I think, yeah, for the combat, I think for me the most important thing to stress is, it's like I say, it's not the same as Inquisition with a party. No. It's like you, just with extra skills that you can fire off. And you can do it either through like pausing and hitting it off, like in Mass Effect, or there's even shortcuts for your companion skills as well, isn't there? In the, you know, when you do it. So yeah, I think as long as you know that, and that does make it a bit more, I guess, actiony than
I think that's
team
fair.
RPG, but I was not to the point where I'm like, I'm still playing it in a very similar way in terms of that I played Inquisition, because I never got into the whole let's pause, let's have a tactical assessment. I was like, no, very early on, like, because they quip with each other, don't they, the characters? Like very early on, someone goes, "Oh, Rook did all the damage there." I'm thinking, yes, Harding, that's going to happen quite a lot in this game, because you just get stuck in, don't you?
Yeah,
so
you do. Yeah,
I don't really care that, you know, it is a bit different, and there is a part of me that likes the idea of a party composition and looking out for people's health bars. But then I also like this as well, and it's like it both can work in different games, and they don't always have to be the same.
It's not quite Final Fantasy Rebirth as an action game.
No.
But it's definitely not. I mean, I'm trying to think. Was it Dragon Age Origins? I forget, but one of them where it was like just really was that. But like Baldur's Gate, I guess it's not that either. No. So it's closer the action than it is the tabletop, if that makes sense. But like, I don't know. When I finished it, like, I did want to start, because I'd only seen the Mage gameplay, and it was only seeing our own video review, seeing Mick play a rogue, and I was like, oh, I really like that. Looks awesome. I want to be doing that.
Yeah.
And like, when I really think about it, I do have... There's a few little things with it that would stop me from like giving it the top marks. Like, I loved it. I really loved it. But there's such... It's more like a combination of a lot of little tiny things that probably could be fixed. Like, you know, games like this that are lore heavy when you're picking up items all the time.
Yeah.
This is very much my problem, not the game's. I hate when you go in a menu and there are pips everywhere. I can't. I can't do it. I can't. I guess same. Is it an OCD thing? I don't know. But like, so in the lore stuff, you can just put read all, and I'm like, okay, great. But you can't do that in the item stuff. Now, the thing is, when I have picked up an item, I study it there and then. And if I'm in the middle of a fight, I still study it.
I will say that. I don't know why that's design decision.
Still be like, you haven't looked at this. Because like, I bloody have.
Yeah, I've picked it up and I've compared it and I've made a conscious decision.
I don't want to use this. Yeah. And because I can't sell it anyway, you can't sell that stuff. So it's like, I don't care. That's it. Just leave it in my inventory forever. Don't you dare put a little pip on it.
Don't you tell me I've not considered looking at it, because I have. Because no, I do think that's a bit of an odd one.
You mentioned it earlier, and this is one of the things you said, even as a mage, I started off and it's constantly just ranged and using your sort of beam lasery thing. But then I found the mage knife that on... I forget what the term is, but basically, like, once you do a combo, then you do a like, you explode them, essentially. A detonation of some description. When you do that with your heavy attack, you freeze them. It's like you're casting a freeze spell. And I'm like, well, I'm definitely doing that, because then when the big lads come, it'd be like, 1, 2, 3, you're frozen. Let's just now throw everything at you. You can't move. And it made me then be able to unequip a freeze spell I had been using constantly and start experimenting with necrosis and other stuff and electric at the time. So... I think you have to be looking at them things when you pick them up, and especially if the rarity's higher, you are going to... I do think... And I spoke to Mick about this when he was writing the review... Well, not writing the review, but when he was playing it for review. I think BioWare still have some ways to go when it comes to the loot side of things, because while it's all very interesting in that, I found that I would actually change stuff very rarely. Because I would find an item and be like, this is the one, this suits me, and I'd find a new one, it's like, it doesn't actually, the numbers don't go up. And I don't know if that's a byproduct of the way the leveling system works in this game or not, but I did find overall I had a lot of loot. Obviously, I looted everything. But I would be constantly having to go to that menu and then go, right, armor, move the little stupid Destiny cursor around over that blip, blip, blip. Okay, they're going to go away now. To the point, I think found a bug at some point, tiny little thing. I think it was a companions, because by the way, when you give your companions, they also get the little blip, even if you've already considered it. And I'm pretty sure, unless you go into it, hover over it, and then press back, if you just then buttoned across L1 or R1 to another menu, they stay blipped. And it's
really? I didn't...
It might have been patched, because it has been patched since I played it. But it's a really silly thing. And but when you're really nitpicking at that level...
Yeah, no, but I know what you mean. It's like I don't understand what it serves, but yeah, I agree with you. Like to the point now where I'm just like, I can't go in those.
So towards the end of the game, I had to basically go, no, I am not looking at this until I finished this mission, got the XP, got the little bit of story at the end, then we'll just do it, because I am driving myself completely batty by doing this, because you are getting gear a lot, and it's like... Yeah. That said, having played some of Inquisition this year, I really like... Well, look, this is what I wanted this game to be. I wanted it to be Inquisition, but modernised. Just because, when you play Inquisition now, the menus are very, very, very clunky and awkward, and it doesn't getting the map up's a bit of a challenge, and you're like, what's going on? The gameplay when you just play an Inquisition is still really fun and good. Mm-hmm. But I wanted a refined, modernised version, and in the Veilguard, that's what I got. We talked combat, we've talked gameplay. Story, you haven't finished it. I'm not going to spoil nothing. There are some parts of the game where you do sort of go, there is a mid-game point where it is very on the nose, and you're a bit that is heavy-handed in how you don't need to treat the player that way, give them some credit at this point.
Yeah.
But I don't, I like the characters, almost all of them. Not all of them, but almost all of them.
And again, I'm comparing this to Inquisition, but I think, again, it's different. Inquisition's, I guess, story and combo of, I guess, areas to explore, side quests and missions and stuff is more open. This feels more curated and controlled, but that allows it to be more structured in a way that tells a better story and gives those characters more room to breathe. There are pros and cons of both, and people will have preferences of both, and sometimes you can say, oh, well, I actually preferred that bit from Inquisition or whatever, or this bit from Veilguard. To make one good or bad, it just means that it's different. But there's definitely this feels like more, I guess, curated from a storytelling point of view. The other thing I've noticed, again, I'm not spoiling anything, I don't think, by saying this. Like, again, comparing it to Inquisition, an observation I had, and we joke about this all the time with Inquisition. Get out of the hinterlands.
Yeah.
Like the areas to explore in Inquisition were like, quite sprawling, and there was lots to do, and then it was like, then you kind of move on to the next area. But they were all sort of like open areas, but like environments, like
you could run into like level whatever baddies and be like, I'm dead.
But also what I mean, I guess, is like, sprawling coastlands or deserts or forests and stuff like that. Actually, there's quite a few areas here that are quite big, which are quite urban and towns and things. And there's only a few of those in Inquisition, and they're like mission specific. And I quite like the fact that actually this world, in many ways, feels a little bit more alive because there's more of those areas that you actually explore that've got a lot of people in them.
I think you're. I mean, we don't need to say the names of them, but you're thinking of area one beginning with T and one beginning with D, and like one of them, I hadn't been playing long enough to like 100% have the structure nailed down of this game in my head because a lot was going on. But when I sort of came to the realization that the one beginning with T was like a fully explorable mini hub for me to do quests, to do looting. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. You don't see this kind of thing very much. This is what I mean. Not like an Assassin's Creed open world. This is quite interesting.
Yeah, I just assumed it was going to follow on from previous games. It's like I go to those places, but you only see a very small segment of it, and it's like a very linear thing. And then but actually you can actually explore quite a lot of them. And actually, what this game does, again, rightly or wrongly, is more of it opens up as you progress the story and side quests and things, and doors and things like that become open that were closed before. So you get more access to these towns and areas than you did at the very start of the game.
Some of that is slightly clumsy. I think that there are certain like doors, let's say with red barriers on, that you're like, what? Or blue barrier, sorry, I should say, and then just it suddenly is open because you're doing the correct story mission. And I did find that a small frustration because I was so close to completing a map and I couldn't understand why I couldn't access it. And then once that had happened somewhere else, I got a moment of the structure is that like this is not, but it doesn't really go out its way to tell
and
you.
It's like I think, like you say, once you understand what the game is, it's fine, right? But the first time I encountered it, I think it was actually like a white barrier, and it says not accessible, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Fuck off, basically.
Yeah.
And
in the forest, I'm guessing by the sound of it.
The forest. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can understand such instruction. Thank you very much. And then not much later on, I went through it, and I was like, okay, now that's unlocked, and now I can always go through that area. Right, I now know when I see things like that I know that I've just got to be patient. And therefore, if there's a chest hidden over there behind a white thing, I know that I've just got to be patient. I guess sometimes they do that with ordinary-looking doors and things, and I think that's I know now to just progress the story and then do a mop-up later with with chests, because like if you get near a chest on the map, it puts it on the mini map, and that's like a shiny thing to a map.
There's a little circle appears as well. Which is new, isn't it? I think
Pixel Hunter, look over here, kind of thing.
But did you? Because one of the issues I had is that there are some ladders. It's a very dark. I always think it's Dark Souls or From Software. Like there's a shortcut back. Once you get there, you kick the ladder down. Every game. It's not really From Soft. Every game's Immemorial's done that. But like in this, there are some.
There are two types of ladders.
Yeah,
people. There were two types of ladders,
and that's why I couldn't. So I had knocked a ladder down from below it and gone,
yes.
Oh, you beautiful bastards! I don't have to find the shortcut. I can. But this one I was stuck on. I'd never seen one up close enough to see the difference.
Yes. So without spoiling, I had a proud moment when I revealed that to my wife.
Oh, lovely.
I was like, what? You haven't noticed the two types of ladders? And she was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. You might want to go back to some of those other areas.
I mean, mate, there was one, and I was playing it with headphones on because I was like, I need this. I was 95% on a map,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it was
yeah.
doing my head in.
Yes,
And I
yeah.
was, because you can, it's sort of auto aims, but you can aim. I don't know if it's the same for a rogue, but with a mage, if you get the crosshair in the right point, you can make it hit things like ladders. And all I could hear on my headphones was clonk, clonk, clonk. And I'm like, fool, I'm hitting it. I can hear that I'm hitting it. Why aren't you? And then, of course, later on, I found another one and realised the difference between that ladder and the other ladder that had that. And I was like, oh, I just spent at least 45, if not 60 minutes running back and forward in a bit of forest trying to work out, is it the door that's holding me up? Am I not hitting that ladder? Yeah. And then I did a mission much later on. I was like, oh, it just lets me in here at one point. The door just opens up and I just kick the ladder down. Now I can yeah. Like it's a weird complaint, but it is.
And again, I think it's knowing what the game is.
Yeah.
I think, it's not saying therefore, because you could say that about any criticism of any game ever, and you just therefore nothing gets criticised. I think it confused me based on my experience with games, but now I know it doesn't bother me in the slightest.
No, once I got it, I just got it later than I wished. I just worked it out a bit later than I was. Like, I really, really, really loved this game. Like, I could not put it down. The other game we have to talk about this week, I was flitting between the two, and this kept me away from the other one. And to the point where I was like, no, I really need to go and play that other one, because otherwise I'm not going to get through it, and it seems long as well. And I think that says something. Like, I think it looks beautiful. I like the soundtrack. I like the sound. I like. I when the credits had rolled, when all was said and done, I found myself satisfied with what I had played, and the story was enjoyable. I like most of the characters. Like, you said this off podcast, and I think it needs saying on pod in case BioWare are listening and give me the cut here. Is if they don't make a Lucanus coffee.
Yeah.
Like. Until you said it, I was like, oh, yeah. But when you said it, I was like, that is... And, like, I think a lot of these characters are really likeable. Really likeable characters.
Just call it Spike Brew. It's fine.
Spike Brew, never even thought of that, yeah. He's just super interesting. Like, we do a best new character in our Game of the Year awards every year, and, like, I stuck him down straight away because I just think... I mean, they need to sell the jacket. His jacket needs to be sold. Because I feel like if I bought that jacket, I'd look cool. Do you know what I mean? Oh, it would look terrible. It wouldn't fit, but...
I will say, I do think there's, because we do about a best new character. Mm-hmm. I think there's some shouts for quite a few of them. Obviously, some characters, there's a couple of characters that aren't new, or one character that isn't new. But like the rest are all new, and I think there's some that are better than others. And again, there's preferences and everything else, and writing and story arcs and everything. But I think there's more than one that you could have a shout for in terms of like, interesting and and character arcs and stuff. And I haven't played all of their kind of... I haven't finished all of their story arc stuff.
I will say I have, and I think every one of them is worth seeing through to the end. I really do. And some of them are very emotionally moving and really cool. I would recommend very strongly that people, if they are playing it, do as much with the characters as they can before they decide to go and say, finish the game or whatever. Like, really importantly. Should we talk about another game for a bit, or do you want to just...
I would love to just keep talking about this, but... we probably should move on. And this is where, again, I need to hand over to you because you've been playing Mario and Luigi Brothership.
Yes, and there's not a game I felt so conflicted on in such a long time, if I'm honest with you. I love it, but there were times where I wanted to punch it, which is a weird thing to say about
a Mario game.
But it's really odd because... It's a very lengthy game. We're talking 30 plus hours. The issue is I gave it an 8 out of 10, so I don't want to do my own review disservice, but it feels like it's a 60-hour game because partially, so it's a Mario and Luigi game. So don't go into it thinking, oh, well, I'll recruit Toad and so and so and so and so, and they'll be party members. No, it is Mario and Luigi from the start until the end, meaning their two core moves are to jump on their heads and to hit them with hammers. And you will be doing that for 30 hours plus. 30 hours plus. It's a great combat system because it's like everything they have done before, like all the interactivity of a game like Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi before it, but like to the nth degree. Like everything is interactive. Like, you don't just press a button to time it once. You time the connection with Luigi, who bounces Mario higher. You time the connection with the jump on the Goomba's head or whatever. The connection with the land. Every one of them is a button press. Each one is mapped. So, like, A is for Mario, B is for Luigi. Hang on, just check that with the controller I've got here. Yes, A is for Mario, B is for Luigi.
Have you got little stickers to remind you?
No, but no. Oh, I should have. But like, and same with the hammers. And in the open world, when you're running around, you know, you jump with Mario. Luigi just follows, but you can still jump and use his hammer when you want to. There's a thing called Luigi Logic, which will pop up with a little, like you know, he'll go, ooh, you know, and you press the L button, left bumper, and he will like hammer stuff for you. So there's loads of like little quality of life things where he will go and smash boxes for you to get coins, or he will pull up radishes for coins. It suffers a little bit because it's just all that stuff from Mario. Like, every reward you get is kind of coins or a mushroom to give you health. Sometimes it'll be not badges, but they're like, you know, an accessory.
Yeah.
The combat's definitely the star of the show, right? No question about that. But I think it's also slightly fails in that. So everything in this game, and I do mean everything, is not only over-explained, but slightly over-animated. So there are moves that when you start playing it, they're really cool. Bros moves. Mario has a red shell. Luigi has the green shell. Shock horror. Mario's red shell, you time it, button presses A, B. They kick it back and forth to one another. It gets to Mario, winds up, he presses A. It does like a Mario Strikers. He jumps up in the air, does a big volley, massive damage. The better you've done, the more damage it does. Luigi's is a green shell, but he, instead of kicking back and forth, they kick it back and forth via an enemy, so it's going up and down the screen. In hour 10, you're quite like, this is cool. In hour 30, you're like, I kind of wish I could just skip this animation. Now, you can equip things called plugs, which make the combat very malleable. They mean that you can do extra damage, or there's one that's auto-excellent, and so you don't even have to do the button presses, but it never really lasts for that long. Everything takes long. Like, the structure of the game is you're going around this place called Concordia, and you are linking islands back up with your island, which is Shipshape Island, which is like a boat/island. Every time you get to the end of one of the islands, you might have a boss fight, you might not. You connect it via the cable that's at a lighthouse, right? That connects it up. Once you've done that, you can link back and forth whenever you want. Like, there's lots of quality of life stuff, which is what makes some of it so, you know, you can eventually, not straight away, eventually you get a thing where you can just press a button and you put down a pipe wherever you want and you can just walk back to your base, and it's like, that's great. It's split up into sections, as you would expect, and at the end of them there's like a bigger level and a bigger boss battle and more story. And I keep sighing. I can't help it. I'm trying not to sigh.
No.
But so when you go into the dungeon of that last level, it will like, so you walk into the room, controls taken away, the camera will pan out, it will show you the area, and you're like, yep, I got to get that plug, and I go, yep, cool. Third time you do that, again, which where you're about 20 odd hours in, it's like, I get it. I've done this now 3 times, 4 times, whatever. I get it. You don't need to keep. But it didn't just do that just for those bits. Like, you'll go to a new island and there's a cutscene and Mario lands perfectly from the cannon you've shot him out of, and Luigi will fall on his face or get stuck in the ground. Again, these jokes, that's the joke. That is the joke each time you find a new island. It's not going to change. It's going to be a different variation of the same joke. And then you'll get up and you're like, okay, controller in hand, let's start looking around this island. You move forward 3 steps, someone rushes off. Oh, how did you get here? So, I got here by the cannon. I'm trying to make... I'm relinking the island. Okay, fuck off. Just fuck off, mate. Just fuck off. And it is a bit like that. It's like by the 10th island, you are just like, I don't want to help these people anymore. Because... and it isn't even that. It goes one further than that. Like, there was a point in the game where it nearly broke me, because having linked up all these islands, you were told early on, essentially, once you link them up, they're better. You know, they're healed. These are not the terms. These are what I'm using to try and not spoil. But you sort of heal, you know, that island. And so what they then do is they say, go back to it, because once you go back to it, you can find these items that allow you to create more plugs and have more battle options. So you and I play games in a similar way. I was already doing that. Because it told me to early on. It told me, well, go back and you'll get... And so again, there's new areas to access. Of course, Sam. There's a point in the game where it forces you to. And I'm like, this is unnecessary. And on top of that, there's loads of side quests constantly popping up, and they're just fetch quests often. Like there's not much variation, and yet there's the battle system's amazing, and it's so cool and unique and interesting, and there's loads going on with it, and there's so many different ways of changing things up. It's really an odd dichotomy of like some great design and some design that you're like, you stopped doing this, Nintendo. Why are you doing this now? You stopped doing this stuff. You expect some. I described it to someone like, when you start a game, and at our age, you've sort of seen most of what games are going to be.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I respect this. You've got to have some degree of hand-holding at the start here.
Yeah.
Because there will be people who've never played this kind of game, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
What you do, though, under your hat is go, but it's all right, because I know what I'm doing. Once I get going, it will let me off the train. It never lets you off the training wheels.
Yeah.
Never. And that is... Yeah, that is slightly disappointing.
It is interesting, though. Like you did say it in your review, and it just reminds me of like I thought we were past this with Nintendo. It reminds me of the Wii U era, when they just over-explained everything, almost the back of the Wii era as well. Was it Galaxy 2, where there was in the box that the game came in, there was a piece of paper that showed you how to put the disc in the fucking Wii, just in case you're an absolute idiot. I didn't know. Something like someone tell me if that's wrong, but I'm sure it was like, and yeah, I remember. Was it Smash for the Wii U or something, where they just went into the nth degree on explaining every little thing that they put into that game in the presentations and stuff. And you're like, Nintendo, chill out.
So it's that. But then they'll do it again for the same thing later on. Yeah. And it's stop it. I don't. And they reused animations quite a bit in this game. Like, so when you get to the end of an island, you got a companion called Oinklet, who's like not a pig, and that's the joke, by the way. He's not a pig. He looks exactly like a pig, but he says he's not a pig. And there's bacon puns, blah, blah, blah. He is what you connect the islands with. You pull the plug out and you shoot across with the plug in your hand. You, Luigi, Mario Luigi and Oinklet. Snoutlet. Sorry, who the fuck's Oinklet? Snoutlet. His name is Snoutlet. And you fly across and you plug it into your island, and every animation is the same. And it's like, I've not seen Nintendo do that. And that is curious. I think there's no secret about what's coming.
Yeah.
But it's the first time I've felt it.
Where we'll talk about maybe what's coming, but like I think it's like, I think it's just a shame because like I've never really been into the Mario and Luigi series. I think
they're fun, but I
never got the first one, and so I've almost kind of just been a bit reluctant to the series. But this one just feels like it would drive me up the wall because I hate games that don't respect my time.
Well, no, I think worse. I think you would enjoy it, but then this would, like I say, because I've told you so now, so perhaps you wouldn't, but you would have that thing of, you'd be like, it's all right, I get it. Nintendo are always going to do this. They are a family-friendly youth or younger audience is often the key demographic. They are going to be very hand-holdy, but it will let me. It doesn't.
Will be fine.
So you will play it, and then you'll have that awful thing of you'll be 10 plus hours invested, and you'll realise that and go, shit, do I jettison this?
Yeah, wasted my hours, or keep going, see if it gets better, and it just gets the worse.
I mean, it is a good video. It's a very good video game.
I don't want to shit on it.
Well made, but it's for a very specific. It does feel like my first RPG.
And there's
the leveling stuff is all like really well designed. It's really well designed for you to level at the right speed and all that stuff. All that's really good. And the combat is, again, I cannot stress enough, the combat is excellent. But the story is... silly thing. Even the font size of the text means they can't get much text in the bubbles at once. And you're like, even that would have meant you could have just given me a bit more of it a bit quicker.
It would have taken less time. Yeah,
I wouldn't have 5 bubbles, I'd have 3. And of the... I don't know, are they all this year? But of the sort of last 12 months of the recent role-playing games... If you could got to choose between Brothership, Mario RPG remake, or Thousand Year Door is the one you go for. Yeah. Absolutely, of that series, it is fantastic. But yeah, I think we should move on to some questions, don't you?
I think we should play the jingle. Chris Hyde, listen to Correspondence. It's time. So, to kick us off this week, we've got some questions from Mick. He's got some for you and then some for me. So, I'll read out yours.
Okay.
So, first off, I've got to set the scene, Adam. Hell has frozen over, and Mick's bought a ROG Ally, and it's quite nice aside from the garbage operating system. These are his words, not ours.
Yep.
How do people use Windows 11 for work? Speaking of work, have you had time to look into a MacBook for video editing and stuff? And at this point, I'm just going to shrink down under the desk because I know.
How do people use Windows 11 for work? I don't, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know the answer. And have I had time to look into a MacBook for video editing and stuff? I need a lottery win, not time. Like, they're not cheap things, and also it just feels like every time I open a computer, there's like a new one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I haven't. It's a cop up. No, I haven't, and I haven't got a clue how people use Windows 11. I think my son might use Windows 11, and every time I see him, it looks nice. It looks quite smart, but I don't use it, so I have no reason to change from what I use.
I mean, I don't think people like have loyalty to those sorts of things. Do they? Oh no, I keep Windows 95. You know, I just think like use the one that's installed.
What was the shutdown noise? Do. That's the one.
There you go. There's the earworm.
I'm glad he's bought a ROG Ally because they are really cool. They are really good devices, actually. I just found myself not wanting any semblance of not a games console, if that makes sense. So I didn't want to have to navigate Windows. With the Steam Deck, it's just like, I just play games on this. It's just a Steam Deck.
Yeah.
I don't even like bother going into the desktop mode on that Steam Deck anymore. It's just a Steam Deck. It's just a handheld games console for me. So I get it. I get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Question now about Mario Luigi Brothership. He said he started it and it looks ace. Yep. Sounds good as well.
Yep.
Did the load times bother you? We didn't really
talk
about
load times. They did. Yeah, that's why I deliberately admitted them. Yeah, they did.
Does it compound what you've been talking about?
Exactly that. Exactly that. They are slower than I can't think of another Nintendo game recently, and it's the very first time Go on.
Can I say something that might get me shot?
Okay.
And I don't know if this is true, and it might be because of the system that it's on. But are Nintendo load times particularly long these days? Because
yes, they're getting that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Princess Peach's Showtime load times.
Yeah, that's not great.
Showtime load times.
I did actually mention that, I think, in the review.
Yeah, because Matilda's playing that now, my daughter.
Okay. No, they're quite significant.
She loves it, but like it's.
No, they're long.
Blimey. She gets to the point. I mean, kids are impatient these days, but she literally said a few times, why is it not working?
Does it still do that thing where it looks like it's crashed because it's not the animation behind it is rippling? It's not smooth, and it will sort of jump like that a bit.
Yes.
And I thought that was crashing sometimes,
Yeah.
So no, this the load times are bad in this. Yes, exactly that, because of the way so I was also playing, as I said, Dragon Age at the same time. Which, by the way, the load times in that are very good on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Very good for giving what you're loading in. So seeing literally playing that, then going to this, and it's like, maybe we do need a new Switch with SSDs and stuff, because that would genuinely have made it's. I don't subscribe to the thing of like, oh well, if the load times are bad or the frame rate's bad, it's a bad game. Full stop. Nah. You know, you mention those things and you let people make an informed decision. But the load times are bad in this game, and they would be a better game because it loads whenever you go into a battle. So that Final Fantasy thing of, you've hit a battle and it pulls you into the battle, it loads sometimes, and it shouldn't really.
No, I don't.
In this day and age.
Have you seen, if I butcher this, the new Hori leverless arcade controller?
Yeah, I don't quite get these things. Like so, do you know what they are, or do I need to?
No, what's the leverless arcade controller?
So you know what fight sticks are? Old style arcade stick where you have a joystick in your left hand, or
the buttons.
Yeah. So this takes away the joystick and puts 4 more buttons, which are your left, right, up, and down. Okay, and I've never used one.
Why are you not just using a controller then?
Because controller D-pads are crap. But I've never used one. I find them fascinating.
Are 4 buttons better than a D-pad?
That's my question. I find them fascinating because to me that means I've got to now memorise like forward, blah, blah, blah. I can't just memorise that thing I've been doing for my life, a Dragon Punch or whatever.
Yeah,
now I've got
exactly, yeah.
So I've got to basically play guitar while I'm playing a video game because I have to do 2 things at once, like playing piano.
Yes.
I bet there's people who use these that are great on piano. It looks cool. It looks really lightweight, small, thin. I just don't get them. Like, it may be possible. Someone puts one in front of me one day and I'm like, oh. But, like, for Mortal Kombat, yeah, I get it. Because it's more combo, like forward, back, you know. But for Street Fighter, yeah. It looks cool. I don't think they're for me, but I've never tried one.
Okie dokie. Are you covering Flight Simulator 2024 or the Royal U?
Yeah. Well, I'm not, because I'm not.
No, I know you wouldn't be. That's why I kind of changed the question.
I don't know, if I'm honest. I doubt it, because I believe no one's getting access to it before it comes out, and we are at the business end of the year where most people, if they're not on something, are preparing for Game of the Year stuff. I think that's the first time I've mentioned that in a while on the podcast. So they go, coming soon. So I don't know is the answer. And the pricing...
Hey, let me ask the question.
Oh, sorry, I thought you had. I was reading
the
ahead.
Pricing, Adam. Apparently there's an Aviator edition. I don't know how expensive that is.
200, isn't it, I think?
Oh, God, what does that include? A plane?
I have no idea.
Jeez, 200
yeah, but it's
quid.
one of those. Do you remember the old ones? You get the polystyrene ones you put together.
Yeah,
yeah, they're great.
The plastic like nose or whatever.
I mean, games are expensive.
I mean, they all are these days.
They are. I mean, there's like a new PlayStation. I mean, yeah, no, move on.
You nearly got into pro conversation then.
Are
you excited for Indiana Jones? I forget the subtitle of the game.
Circle of Doom? Yeah, just look it up for.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, and the Great Circle.
The Great Circle.
That's it. Temple of Doom is what you would get.
Yeah, excited. I think probably a bit, because like I think Machine Games have done some awesome games. Like the Wolfenstein recent stuff was brilliant. I have a little bit of concern about what kind of game this is going to be, because I think I saw a story, apologies for not crediting it, but I don't remember where I saw it, and I just remembered the headline, where basically they've said there's like X amount of hours of cutscenes, and that to me is almost like that kind of, our game's 5 times bigger than Skyrim. And
yeah, it worries me when that's
turn
your
on you think it is.
When that's your top announceable, that's what worries me.
Yeah, I don't generally play a game. I mean, I get it, it's a cinematic... it's based on Indiana Jones. It's going to be cinematic. There'll be quips. There'll be laughs and stuff. I don't fully understand. I know it's going to be stealth-based. I can't see Indy just, like, whipping folks in the face and blowing heads off, which makes me think it's going to be more stealth than it is.
I'll be honest. I haven't seen a lot into it, because I'm quite ambivalent to it as a thing, and maybe that's ignorance, but like. So am I excited at this point? No, it's
excited. It's definitely not the word for me. It's not excited.
And I think
I'm interested.
It's a weird time of year for a launch as well, because isn't it like early December?
Yeah.
So it's like December for me. Like you say, it's the game of the year stuff, and then you end up playing things over Christmas that you should have played early in the year, like your comfort games kind of thing.
But I'm going to hate myself, I'm about to say, but it's that Arcane Studios thing of they've earned your trust. And well, we know how that worked for me, didn't we?
Yeah, you said it, not me.
No, that's why I said I hate myself for it. But like, I do like the studio's previous work. I would like to think... I'm not a huge fan of first-person stealth, so I don't know. But excited, I'm interested, and I would like to play it. I'm more excited for Stalker. Make of that what you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about that off pod. I again, that is one that, because I've not played much of those types of games, surprising no one. But like, it's one of those ones that, because it feels, this may be wrong, but it feels like to me that it's been in development forever, that I just feel like there's an anticipation of it, that I am intrigued and excited about it. Yeah. And if it turns out that it is good, then I'll be receptive.
I think it will be good. I think what they've done is quite clever, because they have made it in like, it looks super modern and visually really arresting, but they also, that is it does that thing of, that's how I remember the previous ones looking. They don't obviously, you play them.
They obviously didn't look that. No, but it's the equivalent of how you felt about them before. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just I just have a funny feeling that could be a good one. I don't know. There's not. I haven't played it. I don't know, but I have a feeling about that one. I hope Indiana Jones is good, but yeah, interested, not excited, I think is the word for me.
Yeah. Is Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D in a preview sense something you are liking?
Um, I've played a bit of it, but not really enough to. Not really even enough to be like in a preview sense. Like it looks lovely. That's about all I can say about it. I really haven't jumped in enough to be able to give you any more than I played a bit of a preview build, and it's like, yeah, no, this seems lovely looking, but that's all I can give you. Sorry. So, shall I do your questions?
Yeah.
First one I'm confused about, but I'm going to ask it. Welcome back. How was your time off?
Yeah, so I didn't realise I'd had time off.
Nor did I.
I may have missed the last pod that we did a couple of weeks ago, but I can't think what it was. Ironically, or coincidentally, I should say, I did have a couple of days off at the end of last week, which was conveniently when Veilguard came out. So that time off was pretty damn amazing because I got to play Veilguard. I don't normally get to sit in my pants all day and play a computer game. Normally have to work. So, yeah, but I can't remember why I wasn't here. But I'm here now. So thank you for the welcome.
Yeah. It wants to know what you're playing Veilguard on, and we didn't actually address this, so this is a good question.
Yeah,
I mean, they're all good questions, of course. But do you think it's a good intro to Dragon Age for newcomers?
So, first off, I'm playing it on the PS5.
Standard PlayStation 5.
Standard.
We are now in that era where it's...
Yep, so I'm on the poor person's PS5, to be really clear. So, yeah, welfare PS5. And do I think the Veilguard is a good intro to Dragon Age for newcomers? Interesting, because that is what I think BioWare said it would be. Like, you do not have to have played the other games in the series. I think there's a yes and no answer to this. I think you don't need to have played Inquisition. They do a good, and indeed Origins and 2, they do a good job of referencing certain things within the main threads of the story, enough for you to understand what's happened in Inquisition, and that's all I'll say. However, I do think that there is also certain assumptions around some of the key themes, terminologies, and things that exist within the game that they don't explain. And I think, there is, and don't get me wrong, there's a sense Dragon Age the Veilguard is for people that have been waiting 10 years for another Dragon Age game.
Yeah.
And so I think it's fair that they have produced it in that way. But so that's why it interested me when they said, "Oh, it's the one for everybody." And I think in some senses it is. Like, you don't have to, but I think you may find certain, I guess, conversations and a couple of minor story beats. You go, "Okay, I don't quite understand how that flows." If you haven't played some of the other games or know some of the surrounding lore, and I don't want to explain specifics because I don't need to. So I think you definitely can play it and get lots of enjoyment out of it and enjoy the characters in the main arc. And it does a good job of bringing people on who have never played one before. So I certainly wouldn't say I certainly wouldn't go and play Inquisition first, but I think you'll get a lot more out of this game. I think fans of the series that know a lot more, my wife included, will get a lot more from this because, and I will say, and I only know certain bits, so far, what I've seen does an excellent job of dropping some bombs which tie up so nicely to previous games and explain a hell of a lot of stuff that happened in Inquisition and from what my wife says, stuff before. And in that sense, I'm really impressed given the whole, I hate saying this because I don't believe it, but not my BioWare type thing where it's like it's a whole new bunch of writers. There was a concern that they wouldn't get the lore and the world that they built previously for the games. But I don't believe that's the case, given the story that I've seen so far. They have tied in really cleverly a lot of lore and explained a lot of things where you may have been going, I think that might be what they were hinting at Inquisition, but I'm not too sure. And then it's like, yes, it was. And we'll tell you in no uncertain terms that this is what's happened. So I think in that sense, for fans, it's really good.
Okay. What are you looking forward to play? What are you looking forward to playing this month and next month? So we're in November and December.
Again, like cards on the table. For me, I'm finishing Veilguard and then I'm doing Game of the Year mop-up. Where I'll get to with that mop-up will depend on how many more hours I need to put into Veilguard. And I've said that to you, so you know that. So the main one this month will be Veilguard and getting to the end of that, seeing everything within that, and then like I say, doing some more stuff prep for the Game of the Year podcast that we'll be doing, then recording all the bloody things, which will take a lovely amount of time. And then, to be honest, what I'll end up playing in December, I think, will be what happens every year. There'll probably be something that comes up in those podcasts, which I'll go, I really wish I'd played that. And I play it. Last year, it was the Man Who Erased His Name.
Oh, yeah.
Played that late last year. After the pods, loved it. There'll be another one of those that I'm sure that I'll be like as a catch up. Now I've got a bit of time. There's a bit more kind of mental headspace to do that. But in terms of, I don't think there's actually new releases. We were talking about this, and Indiana Jones came up, and I just think, I don't know if it'll be a new release. I think it might be a catch up of some of the games I've missed throughout the year. I think would be me personally. Yeah. I don't know there's much more I'm looking forward to that hasn't already come out. Now that Veilguard's out.
December, I'd like to have a bit of a play of Marvel Rivals because I enjoyed the beta of that. And Legacy of Kain I'd like to touch. Mm-hmm. Stalker 2. Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm with you. He wants to know. I don't know what this is, so I'm just going to ask it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried a butter chicken hot pot pie? It is lovely. And is there any random combinations like that you've tried food-wise?
So no, I haven't. I was racking my brains with the random food combination ones. The one that came into my head, because it's a little bit similar, I think. Well, it's a pie. I tried like pigeon pie when I was in Morocco.
Blimey.
And I think, and I apologize if it's not pigeon pie and I'm misremembering, but it's almost got like a sweet, like icing sugar thing on the top of it. So it's like sweet and savory. Okay. But it's really nice. It's like it works really nicely, and it's kind of like a local sort of or Moroccan sort of delicacy alongside all of the, tagines and stuff.
Gotcha.
But I'm trying to think if there's any random combinations that I have or that I've tried. I can't think.
Everyone's done everything now. Like, once upon a time, the idea of chili and chocolate was whoa.
Yeah.
And now it's like, yeah, that's normal.
Yeah. Salt and caramel.
Yeah, who do such?
That's a Discord joke.
Yeah, reminds me of that. Was it the Simpsons joke where they're like the pretzel wagon or whatever, or the peanut butter factory lorry crashes into the chocolate one or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I can't think of one either. So just give you back the questions, I think, because I can't.
Yeah,
I can't help.
Okay. McPoo's asked us a couple of questions as well. I think this first one is definitely for you. Did either of you pick up Death Stranding on Xbox today, or are you waiting for the Switch 2 port next year?
Funnily enough, no.
It's funny. Like, I have never played Death Stranding, and I will never. I don't think I ever will, because one of my earliest memories of God is a Geek is listening to that podcast at the end of the year before I joined the site, where you basically shat on it for about
I like the
4
game,
hours.
I just don't like the story.
It's one of those where, like, you say you like Final Fantasy 16 and then just got on your soapbox for 7 hours. It was funny, and it enamored me to the site, and here I am. So you should
all right,
be
fine.
proud of it.
I do like Death Stranding. I just don't like the story.
I think he doth protest too much, but no. So in answer to the question, no, and I certainly, if I was going to get it, I wouldn't choose on Switch 2. I don't think either.
Depends what Switch 2 is. No one knows.
No one knows. The Super Nintendo Switch. Please. This is going to be an issue. Who could eat more pizza in one sitting? Now, we have eaten pizza together.
Have we? Did I have pizza?
I ate it with a knife and fork.
Yeah, I don't think I had pizza today that time.
Oh, did you not? I thought we both.
I don't think I did.
Oh, okay.
I thought when I first read this, I was the same. I was like, "Oh, this could be true." I don't know.
No, see, okay. Let's set out the stall then. Let's ask us a kind of. If I said to you, Domino's, other pizzas are available. Domino's large pizza.
Yeah.
One sitting.
Oh, easy.
Right. So therefore, I think the answer to this question is you.
Okay, fair enough. But they're maybe I've got more high tolerance for sort of the greasy, because
I can get through a large, but I'll have about half of it, then I'll have to have a rest, then I'll come back to it. Yeah, so I think
so. Pizza's one of those foods where if I don't know if there was like if someone was in the kitchen constantly putting pizzas in the oven and they just kept supplying them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd die.
Like
Pizza's just one of them things.
Something.
I don't like if there is never pizza left. Well, there is.
Yeah. Okay.
If we've really overordered, I'm not going to deliberately be like, oh no, I'm not leaving that. Pizza in the morning or whatever the thing is. But generally speaking, it's rare there's any pizza left. And even if there is one slice left, I'll look at it and go, I can't. And then half an hour later, I'm like, I can. So,
in which
one
case,
of them things.
yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love pizza, but I just. Yeah, I think therefore you'd probably beat me.
I just think if you mix them up, the flavors, like they're endless combinations that you like. You might get tired. Say you had let's stick with other brands are available with Domino's that stick with a Meteor where it's got barbecue sauce on it. Say you got a bit like I've had enough of this sweetness. You could just go to a pepperoni one, sorry, and it would be you'd remove that sweetness and you could just continue. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed me, but
you're clearly like semi-professional at this, it sounds like.
I love pizza, man. Like it's fresh bread, essentially, isn't it?
What's that?
It's fresh bread. I mean,
yeah, technically, yeah, fresh bread with extra flavour. I guess if you're, so that in that sense, and cheese. Who doesn't like cheese?
Yeah, exactly that.
So Pooh's final question and the last question for the pod this week: do you think we'll get a new 3D Mario next year? Planning out my league team. Obviously, for people that don't know, on our Discord we have the patrons have a league every year where they try and pick
fantasy critic.
Fantasy, it's like a fantasy football league, but for games, and the higher the game
critic.
reviews across like Metacritic or whatever, they get various points and they try and get a certain amount of picks, isn't it, over the year, and then they get them. Whoever gets the most points wins, and they do it every year. So he's asking if we think, to give him an inside track, whether we think there's going to be a new 3D Mario next year.
Well, just to be clear, there's no inside track. We don't know.
No, we don't. Yeah, we don't. No, he's sorry. When I say inside track, I mean we're obviously clearly experts.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So
Yes.
My expert opinion on this, and it is just opinion to be really fucking clear before I get sued. I think there will be a new 3D Mario next year because I think it's going to be a launch title for Super Switch 2 that will be coming out next year.
Yeah,
so I think
I agree. So I know it's boring, but I agree.
Yeah, I think it's almost nailed on. Not only is it 7 years time of recording since Odyssey, but I think that you've also got the fact that you want a launch title of a big franchise.
And as much as you may disagree, that launch title isn't Metroid 4. It might be a launch title, but that isn't the one.
It might. Okay, so even if Metroid Beyond is a launch title for the Switch, I agree. I don't think it will be, but even if it is,
it's not the
Odyssey
big
still
launch
came out within a few months of Breath of the Wild, right?
True.
So I still think I don't know, Mario Universe or whatever it is coming out next year. So if it was me, and I played this game, and I don't because I don't think it's right that people that write reviews for a game site should partake in such a game. But if I was, I would put that very high up on my list for next year. Yes,
I agree. On the yes that is coming. I'm not commenting on
who should partake.
No,
I'd be on the fence on that one.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay, let's play that jingle. Hyde. Listen to Correspondence. It's time. Chris Hyde.
Well, that's episode 558 for the books. Thank you, Chris, for being here. I'm sure we'll be back to a fuller complement next next episode, I should say. I've got stops in next week just in case, because I know we're sporadic, and every single time we get to this time of year, I have to say the same, that if you want the Game of the Year stuff, please be patient with us, because them games they need to play in, basically. And
you'll get your hours back as well.
You get your hours back, but like some of them games this year have been big. I was talking to someone about it the other day, and I was like, 3 of my top certain amount currently, in my personal opinion, are like 60+ hour games, and I don't know that that's been the case for some time. And we've got some admin stuff to do in that respect and get stuff ready, so there are going to be weeks where we're not around. It's it is what it is. If you do enjoy the podcast, though, there is an exclusive podcast called the SGFC podcast, Smaller Games Fun Time Chat podcast, and that's Patreon exclusive on patreon.com/GodIsAGeek, and that is every 2 weeks ish. We try to do 2 a month. We talk about smaller games that don't quite make the impact, or we don't have time on the podcast to talk about them here. Again, that's patreon.com/GodIsAGeek. You can find us on social media, on YouTube. Again, just look for @GodIsAGeek on all whatever you're listening to. You'll find YouTube, and you can see a video version of this, which you can get early if you're a Patreon, and you can join the Patreon Discord community where you can send questions and stuff for the podcast, like people have this week. Chris, thanks for being here.
Not a problem, mate.
And everyone else will speak to you next episode or whenever you choose to listen. Ta-da!